Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. Earnings season is kicking into full gear here, but a strange dynamic is playing out, right? Uh, we have seen a handful of pretty good numbers, but overall the action continues to favor the Bears. There has been quite a bit of sell the news up until this point. There certainly has been names that have been rewarded. I mean, I will not dismiss that, but there has been quite a bit of sell the news, and um, people are wondering if it's signaling something. So in this video, I kind of want to talk about Netflix and really like dig into whether there is a signal here and whether it might be a sign of things to come for the other FANG names or not. So first off, I know the videos have been a little bit more theoretical the last couple days, but it's always great to kind of talk through like the rationale of these things, especially when you have such like a busy stretch of earnings and so many big names reporting such a small window. Um, you just can't help but like get into like these scenarios where people are trying to draw like these really sweeping conclusions from maybe like 2 to 3 weeks of action, right? And Netflix is one that comes up because it was basically like the first prominent tech name to go to report. And after last quarter, it was a really nice bounce back print. I talked about this, I talked about this last week that it was a great setup for a bounce back print, meaning that it missed pretty substantially the quarter before after a really nice stretch of just fantastic outperformance, great numbers. So it went into earnings this uh, this month in a good setup because expectations had come down, stock price had come down, and business still seems solid. So if they could, turn in like a nice beat and raise, or beat, raise, and good subscriber number, then there's in a setup to like have like a nice rebound and possibly close the gap. What happens is it stalled right at the top of resistance, and then just immediately started to roll over, and really for like the last like 4 or 5 sessions, it's done nothing but get hit, right? And people are everybody's freaking out. They're saying, the sky's falling, like that's the end of it. And honestly, you could look back just to what it did in April, and it actually had a kind of like a similar move. Yes, maybe the magnitude was a little bit different, but it is not totally uncommon to see, or it's at least not uncommon this year to see Netflix give back gains after a strong quarter, right? It did this in April. It popped, and then for basically 5 to 6 days, it did nothing except just drop. So, so right there, it shows you that it's happened before, right? And yes, there are some differences in the sense that it's now below some moving averages, but it's not it's not totally out of its character. And for the most part, Netflix is still trying to hold on to like this 315 to 320 support level, and obviously it's still up quite a bit year to date, right? Now, in terms of what that meant at the time in April, right? Um, yes, when Netflix popped and then dropped, tech followed like kind of like a similar pattern, right? So right around the same time, uh, XLK hit a high and then pulled back. But you can see a week to 2 weeks later, it was higher. And like when you try to like extrapolate that to other FANG names, did it signal similar action? Well, yes and no. So Microsoft, right? When they reported, popped, popped, right? Popped, rolled over. So kind of like similar, but again, higher, a few weeks later. Google, this is the quarter where they missed. So ran up and then got hit down. But again, another one where, pulled back, got hit, and then 2 to 3 weeks later was higher, right? Amazon, this one popped, pulled back, didn't quite close the gap, chopped around, and then maybe like 3 or 4 weeks later it was higher. So so yes, Netflix has not acted great following its earnings, right? I mean, nobody's going to deny that. It's basically off about 20% from the high of the day when it reported. But in the context of what it's done this year, it's still up a lot, and it's not totally unusual because we've seen this happen before. What you're really going to want to watch is now, because we're still going to get Microsoft tonight, we're going to get Amazon and Google tomorrow. What you're going to want to watch is to see how they respond. And more so than what Netflix has done up until this point, how these bigger names start to behave after earnings is going to tell you, whether we are set up for a deeper pullback, right? So, Microsoft tonight, if they can beat and hold on to gains, then that'll be a positive first sign, right? And then Amazon and Google, if they can beat and hold on to their gains, it'll be a positive first sign. And it would not be totally surprising to see kind of like a similar replay of what happened earlier in this year in like the April to May timeframe, where it was, stocks. So some of these leading stocks acted very poorly on their earnings, but then, as the numbers were digested and people started to think about it, stocks ended up working their way back up. So, it's just I wanted to talk about it because you've been hearing it a lot over the last few days, just because Netflix was the first to go and the action's been pretty weak. But in terms of indicators, this has happened before, and it's not a great. It doesn't necessarily give you a great idea of what the other FANG names are going to do, and it doesn't mean that the top is in, right? So you've seen Netflix act weak following its earnings, and 2, 3, 4 a month later, it's back to buying. So tonight we get Microsoft. It's going to be a big one, and then tomorrow will be even bigger day for tech. Amazon, Google, Intel, Expedia, Western Digital. This period of 24 to 36 hours coming up is going to be critical for tech. So we're going to need some good numbers, and that should really start to help rebuild a little bit of bullish sentiment, which is seems to be on the ropes at this point. But yeah, lots going on, lots to look forward to. Trades are coming out, fast and furious. Things are flying around. So buckle up. It's gonna be a real busy one. As always, I really love to hear from you guys. So please reach out, questions, comments. This Netflix is something that we talked about in the VTF over the last couple of days. So I figured it was it was good to spend the time to go over it in the video, because some people were wondering if it really meant a lot for the other FANG names. So that's why I want these videos to be tailored to questions you guys have. So if I hear from you, then I can get these videos more in line with what you want. So have a fantastic night, and I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.